you are.
Such a lovely day in May. Been waiting long?
Oh, I left my buggy down the street a while ago. Been here just a few minutes. Feels like hours. I'm so excited, Eliza. An Episcopalian service at last in Santa Cruz. Thank you for making it all happen.
Well, it had to happen. The courthouse will have to do until we get the church built.
And when will that be?
Soon, Joseph and I have a plan.
Where is Joseph?
He'll be along shortly. He told me he would meet me here.
You are lucky he wants to come to church. I can't for the life of me get Hiram even interested.
Well, being Anglican isn't Joseph's blood. His family's from England, you know, but he's not been confirmed. Not yet.
You have a plan for that too, don't you?
Listen, before he gets here, I have something to tell you.
Yes.
Joseph asked me to marry him.
And what did you say?
Well, that I would sleep on it. I promised to tell you this morning.
Tread carefully, Eliza. You do know what happened to him the year before you moved here?
You mean when he tried to take his own life?
The paper said that he was coming home from San Francisco on a steamer when he flung himself into the bay to drown himself.
It was in the paper? He told me about it last night. He said, before you commit, there's something you need to know. And then he told me. I was stunned. It didn't sound at all like the Joseph I know, always so positive and energetic.
He does have that. And I do know what it's like to be attracted to that. Well, and he is being honest with you. Eliza, did he tell you about the judge that sent him to a mental hospital?
Yes, he told me about that last night. He had been distraught over his business deals, and during the time that he spent in the hospital, with the help he got there, he realized there's more to life than being a successful businessman. And now that he's met me, he says he knows he's going to be all right, that I bring balance to his life. What else could I do? It seems we're not in control over who we fall in love with.
That is true, and who am I to judge? I married a man so different from myself, with such rough edges. Of course, I tried to discourage him at first, but then he sent me a valentine with a handwritten poem, and well, there was no going back after that.
I know I am destined to be with Joseph, and all I can do is love him and hope for the best.
Good morning, my dear Eliza. Well, have you had time to think about it?
Yes. And my answer is... yes!
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 You are sure?
Yes, Joseph, I am sure. I believe in you, and I want to spend my life loving you.
And I you.
Oh, and do you know Agnes?
Well, I certainly do. Lovely to see you.
Hello. And did you know that she was born the same year as me in Ontario, right across the border from me?
Indeed, that is a coincidence.
And it seems congratulations are in order.
You told someone already?
I had to talk it over with someone. I want Agnes to be my matron of honor.
Ah.
Agnes,
I would be honored.
my brother Thomas can give me away, and who will be your best man?
Oh, my cousin Edward, of course. Well, we once made a bet back in our neighborhood bar in New York City, the two of us with our friend Edmund Jones, about who would be the first to marry. I have lost 2 times over. But Eliza was worth waiting for.
What will I wear? What will you wear? No, I could fashion you the most beautiful wedding gown for your wedding.
Oh, I don't think there will be time for that.
Oh, nonsense. We'll go out to San Francisco first thing tomorrow morning and we'll pick out the most beautiful fabric and I'll sew it for you in no time. I make all my own clothes, you know. Of course, nothing this ornate for you, but something simple and very elegant.
It would be wonderful to have a dress made by you.
Yes, but no hooped skirt, please.
But hoops are the fashion nowadays.
I don't give two hoots for fashion, especially hoops. I suppose they make sense outdoors to keep your skirt out of the dust and mud, but they also keep their suitors at bay. Watch what happens when a man draws close. May I?
Of course.
Our wedding will be indoors, and when we take our vows, I want Eliza to be next to me, side by side and arm in arm.
All right, no hoops. An old-fashioned flowing long gown with a train behind her.
Well, can you get it done this week?
Well, it looks like I will have to. You are in a fever to get married.
Joseph, we do need a priest and a church first.
Now that will be the challenge. Hiram and I had to go all the way to San Jose to get married. Of course, it was an Anglican service, but even in San Jose, they did not have their church built yet. Hiram and I got married in a firehouse.
Well, I'm afraid a firehouse won't do for us. It will have to be the Congregational Church. Congregational? I was, in fact, a member of the Congregational Church back in New York. I switched to the Episcopal Church, whose members supported abolition, while the Congregationalists opposed it. Oh, that was in the backwaters of New York. The Congregationalists here are much more progressive. In fact, here, they are the leaders of the Abolitionist Society. That's how Joseph and I met, you know, at an abolitionist meeting at the Congregational Church.
Well, ladies, if we want to attend the service, it's time to head upstairs to the courtroom.
Do you know this priest? Perhaps he can be the one to perform the wedding ceremony.
Only if he's willing to come back next weekend. Or stay in town. You know, we could get him a room at the hotel.
He might like that.
Oh, and after the wedding, the honeymoon. England.
Here we are, 1 year later, still using the courthouse for our church.
Look at little Willie, sound asleep. Why couldn't he have been quiet during the baptism?
Because he's my son. Doesn't take to such nonsense. Of course, he didn't like the cold water.
You just didn't know it was holy water from the River Jordan, did you? Oh, Eliza, it was such a pleasant surprise when you handed the vial to the priest. How very sweet of you to think of us, and on your honeymoon.
When we were in Westminster, they were selling the holy water, and I couldn't resist getting some for your son. Of course, I didn't know then that you would be having a son.
And how did you know that this holy water came from the River Jordan?
Hiram, don't start.
Okay, dear.
Your baby was fine. The whole baptism was lovely. Just think, 2 other babies. And Joseph's confirmation. Our church certainly is growing. Joseph, now we have got to get that church built.
We will.
So, Joseph, how did you like London?
Oh, London is excellent. We visited my mother's relatives there and, of course, toured the city and all of the museums. I was especially impressed with the new Industry Museum in South Kensington. We spent an entire afternoon there, didn't we? And we returned that evening because they have gas lighting, which we will also have in our new church.
And the finest stained glass windows from New York City.
Oh, he is starting to squirm again. And I think I need to change him.
Let's take him to my house. It's closer. I'm going to be needing to change my little one in a couple of months. You can show me how it's done.
Oh, Eliza, it comes so naturally. You'll make a wonderful mother. I know it.
Gentlemen, please excuse us and join us later for tea. Joseph, I'll take the buggy.
Well, my friend, didn't take us long to expand our women now, did it?
Yes, we are certainly doing our best to populate Santa Cruz. Now, Hiram, there is something I have been wanting to talk to you about.
Yeah?
Well, after the baby, we plan to start the building for our church. I myself am keen on architecture and even have a plan for it. But what do I know about building?
And where did you get these plans?
Oh, I once saw a church in Philadelphia that I admired very much. So I returned there, acquired a copy of the blueprints, and while doing so, I found out that that church, and soon ours, will be an exact replica of one in Lancashire. England, that is.
You don't say.
Hiram, I could use a man like you to help me. I've heard good things about your work up in the valley, and that you were a shipbuilder before you came here. You know, the nave of a church is a lot like the bottom of a ship. In fact, the word nave and navy come from the same Latin root.
Not interested. Not interested. All that talk about sin and evil right in front of my own baby son.
Yes, I did find the service a bit medieval. But Hiram, I'm not asking you to come to church. Just help me build one.
I'm not your man. I've got other plans. Have you heard about Silver Mountain?
Who in Santa Cruz has not? Oh, I once was tempted to invest in mining there myself, but decided not to.
Yeah, well, I'm not as astute a businessman as you are. But I've learned a thing or two. And now, I've got a chance at another fortune. I've formed a new mining company. The Eureka Gold and Silver Mining Company. I leave for Silver Mountain this very week.
What about Agnes and the baby?
As soon as I can build a house for them, they will join me.
Oh, come with me to the saloon, Hiram. I'd like to hear more about this mining company of yours. I could still be tempted.
Only if you're buying.
Hiram, the church is open. Oh, and it is beautiful.
Wow. All bejiggered, it does look like the inside of an upside down ship. Joseph done himself proud.
And look at these windows.
Shipped all the way from New York City. They arrived in 100 different pieces. The soldering joints on them melted on their way across Panama. We had to set them out on the ground and solder them back together again. Oh, Agnes! Oh, how wonderful to see you. Welcome home to Calvary Church. How long has it been?
6 very long years. Oh, how lucky to catch you here, Eliza.
I came to practice my music on the melodeon that Joseph bought for me in the choir.
And is that a chair for the bishop?
Yes, we bought that 2 years after the church was opened. And the bishop has been seated in it several times since. And even when the chair is empty, it serves as a reminder to us that his presence is always with us, his prayers and his blessings. Oh, and did you notice the baptism font? Made from Nova Scotia stone, from Fisher and Bird, from New York.
And a furnace. Nice to know if I ever do decide to come to church.
Yes, we got so many complaints from our chilly congregation that the Ladies' Society spent the money they were saving on the church bell on the furnace.
And I see Joseph got his gas lighted.
Yes, he so admired the lights he saw in London. They do look lovely. So what about you, Agnes? You look wonderful.
Oh, thank you so much. It feels so good to be able to wear all my good dresses again. Of course, I do miss hoops. I did love them a lot. Do you think this dress looks all right without a hoop?
It looks fine. Are you just visiting, or?
We're here to stay. My brother has made his house available to us right down on Vine Street, 3 blocks down from your church.
So now, tell me about Silver Mountain.
Right. Agnes, I'll leave you to that. I'm supposed to go meet your brother at the livery stable.
Right, dinner's at 6.
Yes, dear.
At Silver Mountain, I never knew when he'd be home.
I have the same problem here. Always something that keeps Joseph at the tannery.
Well, at least you have civilized surroundings when he isn't at home. Silver Mountain has to be the most God-forsaken place on earth. And to think, I bought a book by a spiritualist en route when we were in Placerville.
Andrew Jackson Davis?
Yes, one of harmonia. No time for that. Constant cleaning instead. I would sweep and dust every morning, and by noon there would be another layer. Keeping an eye out on Willie that he did not go down to the creek and drown. Well, and then I had 2 more children. The winters were miserable. The only food you could count on buying in town were beans and potatoes. Having a garden was impossible. Oh, Eliza, but worst of all was the lack of good company. All the men cared about were their minds. Load, oar, and drifts. They kept talking and tunneling and tunneling and talking, looking for indications. They dug so many tunnels, Eliza. It was a wonder the mountain didn't cave in on them. Every time one of their charges would go off with a boom, my whole body would seize up. I never knew if Hiram would come home in one piece, and some men never did. Oh, and then there was an earthquake. It was a huge jolt with rumbling afterwards that knocked all the silverware off the kitchen table. I thought for sure the mountain had crashed then, but then I looked out the window and there it was, the same jagged shape as high as ever. Little Willie was so frightened, but all the men cared about was the damage to their damn tunnels. I had no female friends like you to confide in. The only women when we first got to town were, well, some soiled doves. No wives ever came out, and those that did put all their energy into family survival, like me. No churches, no schools, it was no place for children. And little Willie is 6 years old, and our 2 daughters, Birdie and Maud, they will need schooling soon also. Eliza, how about you? Do you have any children?
Yes, we have a daughter and a son. First is Alice Mary.
The one you were expecting at Willie's baptism?
She's 6 years old now. And little William, he's 4. Oh, he so loves going to the tannery with his father.
Oh, we have 2 Williams. My children could use some proper playmates. May we come visit you sometime?
Of course, bring them tomorrow. Now I must practice my music so I can get back to them. I don't like leaving them long with my mother-in-law. Oh, maybe now that you're here, we can start a Sunday school.
Oh, that's a lovely idea.
Hiram, I heard you were back.
For better, for worse.
Well, may I join you?
Chair's empty.
Per usual, sir.
Actually, Justin, thank you for joining me. You know, seems since I got back in town, people seem to be avoiding me. Or maybe I'm just avoiding them. They all expected me to come back with another fortune. But I've come back with my tail tucked between my legs.
That bad?
Pretty bad. I sunk everything into it. You know, I kept thinking it was going to go. I even sold a huge chunk of my land up in the valley. For a man that made a good fortune in gold, silver mining sure has been the devil to me.
I suppose there is a rather large difference between mining the rivers and mining a mountain. So what are you going to do now?
Well, I have the humiliation of coming back to Santa Cruz, working for my brother-in-law, who had the good horse sense to quit mining when he was ahead. He got himself a hotel and a livery stable, where I will be employed. I promised Agnes. You know, God love her, she lived 6 years up there with me.
Hiram, I would take you in at the tannery, but truth be told, my partner and I are struggling as well. I know what it's like to sink all your money into one thing. Well, I don't know if you heard, but I had to sell my store.
What? Your store? Joseph, you were doing so well with that when I left.
I was, but I neglected it once I got the tannery. Oh, plus I needed the cash to help to supply the hides, the lime, the tan oak. Furthermore, there was too much competition from the Cooper brothers. It was a big mistake, though, closing the store. These days, it's better to diversify than put all your eggs in one basket.
I know. Was this living with my brother-in-law?
Gentlemen, would you like another?
No thanks. I limit myself to one drink at midday.
I know. But you, sir?
Better not. Thank you anyway. So, Joseph, looks like we have soiled doves here in Santa Cruz.
She is no soiled dove. That's Mrs. Thomas, a member of our church. A widow from New York with a little girl. She's the saloon keeper's sister-in-law and is currently living at his house.
Oh, so somebody else employed by family and living with them. Seems like that's a catching.
These are hard times. But you're living in the house on Vine Street. That's a good, solid house, one of the oldest in Santa Cruz. You know, its timbers were shipped around the Horn in 1849, or as I was. Oh, and here they pegged the timbers together with wooden dowels, which I suppose is why it survived the past 2 earthquakes.
I know. They've learned things, the good things to do with the redwoods. Ah, yes. Progress.
Yes, there is always progress. New opportunities are always just around the corner. Or should I say, around the bend. Trains. Trains are the future now. Hiram, you'll have another chance. I remember how you recovered from the massive flooding in 1863. There's no holding down a man like you.
I hope you're right. You know, I've been thinking about Arizona. It's still a territory, you know. Not so many rules, not so many regulations. While the banks here are failing, people are moving out. Yes, California is losing its shine. Arizona is the new frontier. Agnes' brothers, one's left already and the other one is about to leave. They've asked me to join them. And you know, I might just.
There you go. There's no holding down a man like you. I wish I had the courage to pull up stakes like you. You are, in fact, stronger than I am. But I'm afraid duty calls. I must get back to the tannery.
Cheers to a better future.
Bye.
I thought I'd find you here.
Must be something important if you came into the church.
I've got some bad news. Joseph is dead by his own hand.
Oh. Tried to warn her. It was bound to happen sooner or later.
Joseph, sadly, was not adaptable. The boon years of Santa Cruz are over. Man's got to accept reality. He's got to follow his destiny. Agnes, I'm going to that mine in Arizona. Your brothers are already on their way.
I know. I heard them talking about it. You go if you must. But this time, I'm not going with you.
I thought you'd say that. I've already made arrangements to deed the house over to you. It was never really mine anyway. I'll send you money as I can from Arizona. If everything goes well, I'd sure like young William to come and join me.
He must finish high school first.
Granted. But after that...
Eliza. My dear Eliza.
I'll be on my way. My condolences.
Joseph!
I know. Hiram just told me.
But he hung himself!
He did not tell me that.
Kicked the chair right out from under him. I found him just hanging there. I wrapped my arms around his legs, trying to hold him up. Oh, I could not look at his face. They had to drag me away when they took him down. Oh, how could he do it? You were right about him, Agnes. He had a dark streak. I'm trying to make sense of it. Ever since our son was killed at the tannery, he had been distraught. Oh. He refused to go back to the church. There was the economy troubles. And the tannery was struggling, and then Edmund, his lifelong friend and partner, left him for another job.
Yes, I heard about that.
It was all too much for him. He completely closed himself off. No one could reach him. Not Edmund, not me, not his 3 daughters who adore him. Ever since 6 months ago, he wrote his last will and testament. I've been walking on edge. How could he do this now? I'm with child again. I told him last night in hopes that it would. Oh, but now I think it only added more pressure.
We will just have to lean on each other. For I too am going to go without a husband. Hiram is off on another venture, this time to Arizona with my brothers. Mining is in his blood, and I have to let him go. But this time, I'm not going with him. I can't leave my church again, and I have the children to think of. How will you get? He's deeding the house to me. He never felt it was his anyways. And he promised to send money.
You're right. Let him go. Joseph wanted to sell the tannery, but I told him we had to stay in Santa Cruz. And now the vicar refuses to give him a burial service.
What? Why?
He says taking one's own life is a sin.
That vicar is living in the Dark Ages. As far as I'm concerned, we have got to get a new vicar now. I'll call a vestry meeting. I'll complain to the bishop. This is outrageous.
Agnes, please. Just sit here a while.
I know what we can do, Eliza. We can toll our new bell for Joseph.
For Joseph.
Once for each year of his life. Eliza, did he tell you about the judge that sent him to a mental hospital?
During the time that he spent in the hospital, with the help he got there, he realized there's more to life than being a successful businessman.
Yes. You are sure?
Yes.
Hiram, I would take you in at the tannery, but truth be told, my partner and I are struggling as well.
People are moving out. Yes, California is losing its shine. Arizona is the new frontier. Agnes' brothers, one's left already and the other one is about to leave. They've asked me to join them. And you know, I might just.
I wish I had the courage to pull up stakes like you. You are, in fact, stronger than I am.
Cheers to a better future.
Goodbye. Oh, I once saw a church in Philadelphia that I admired very much. So I returned there, acquired a copy of the blueprints, and while doing so, I found out that that church, and soon ours, will be an exact replica of one in Lancashire. They have gas lighting, which we will also have in our new church.
And look at these windows, shipped all the way from New York City. They arrived in 100 different pieces. The soldering joints on them melted on their way across Panama. We had to set them out on the ground and solder them back together again. I came to practice my music on the melodeon that Joseph bought for me in the choir.
Is that a chair for the bishop?
Yes, we've got that 2 years after the church was opened. And the bishop has been seated in it several times since. Oh, and did you notice the baptism font? Made from Nova Scotia stone, from Fisher and Bird, from New York.
Wow. All bejiggered, it does look like the inside of an upside-down ship. Joseph done himself proud.
What a wonderful service we had, and what a glorious day. Our new church organist, Mrs. Alt, she really did herself proud today. And we've got her photographer husband to boot.
Mrs. Ort, bless her, on the little reed organ. Makes a wonderful addition to our church music. And it frees me up to lead the choir and sing without having to sit at the keyboard as well. We can take on more challenging music, and our well-trained singers are certainly up to the task. In fact, they could use a better choir director than me. Oh, well, we can't afford that. Our income hardly covers the vicar's salary.
You're doing a fine job with the choir, Eliza.
Oh, Sean. Oh, 25 years. We certainly have a lot to celebrate this Founders Day. That ivy we planted outside is growing up the walls and onto the roof. We're going to have to do something about that before it does any damage.
Why do we only start to celebrate Founders Day from when the church was built? What about those early years in the courthouse? when I was here.
We have always celebrated from the laying of the cornerstone. But add 2 years and that's 27 years of friendship, you and I. Oh, we've survived a lot together. Both of us widows, both of us raising our children on our own. And we've done all right. There's your little William, Bertie and Maud. Each one so strong in their own way.
And yours. Granted, you lost William and Alice, God rest their souls. But you have Betty, your little scholar, and Beatrice, who sings just as beautifully as you do.
And my namesake Agnes, such a pretty girl.
Who never knew her father.
And you, the first woman elected 10 years to the public school board.
A woman elected by a room full of men. So ironic. Why, Agnes, have you not joined the suffrage cause?
Well, I, my dear, am a subject of the Queen, and will never vote in this country.
I forgot about that. But it's not as though you're shirking your civic duties. You have opened up your home to so many community events. Why, your home is like the church annex, the parish hall.
Now that we've built the rectory, the parish hall should be our next project.
Ladies, it is time for the photograph.
We'll be right there, Mr. Ord.
Let's get those. We're losing light. We have these empty chairs, all these empty. Yes. Thank you.
Well, Eliza, why don't you take this one over here?
Oh no, I look terrible head on. I do much better in profile.
I thought I was the vain one.
So when I say freeze, maintain wherever you are. 1, 2, 3, freeze! 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi, 4 Mississippi. Very good. I think we got a good picture. Yeah. What do you think, folks? Did we get a good picture?